Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction for the game against Burnley. Some key updates coming in around injuries, certainly to Eric Bailly, Marcus Rashford. Some interesting questions asked by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about title aspirations. Some, I think they're in the minority, but some Manchester United fans still do think we're in a title race. 8 points off Manchester City if we win our game in hand at the weekend. 8 points against Man City with 6-7 games to go. So we'll talk about that. Also, Ollie talking about how close we are to Manchester City, whether second place is good enough for Manchester United. Also, a couple of transfer things around Jude Bellingham and Andre Silva as well. So please smash a like on the video. I've also dropped a link in the video. Goldbridge reacts to TikTok clips. If you like that sort of thing, a lot of people are enjoying it. It's only been up an hour or so. The link's in the video description for that. But let's start off with let's talk about the injuries first of all. Quite an interesting thing. Obviously, we'll have Harry Maguire back. We'll have Paul Pogba only played 45 minutes. We'll have Luke Shaw back. We've got a week off between Burnley and Leeds as well. No midweek game for United next week, which is a luxury we haven't had for I can't remember the last time, and I'm pretty sure we're not playing for a week between Burnley and Leeds, which is a massive thing for United. So he doesn't. I mean, look, on Rashford straight away. TikTok video was amazing, so Zigzag, you can check it out, video description. On the Rashford thing, I would be really tempted to just say, Marcus, don't come back to training till next Wednesday. Like, take the next 6 days off. Because you know he's getting a rest after Burnley for a week, so why use him against Burnley? I don't think we need to use him against Burnley because you play Pogba off the left, you play Bruno, Greenwood, Cavani. You've got your midfield two, which will probably be McTominay and Fred. You've still got people like Van der Beek. You know, I don't think we need Rashford at the weekend, and I would really seriously not use him. What Ollie said is that with Rashford, it's a really difficult one. He shouldn't have been involved yesterday against Granada, but he put his hand up and said, "Look, I'm available if I'm needed," which you can sort of understand because if we were 2-0 down at half time and the tie's open, you get Rashford on, don't you? Big bonus not playing him. Ollie said though, he's had a week off now, and that means he hasn't made it work. But as he said, he shouldn't have been on the bench at the weekend. So it's one of those where it's a difficult one. And Ollie reiterated again, really, we're going to be guided by how Marcus feels, which is dangerous because we've all played football. We all want to play football. And if I'm Marcus Rashford, I'm going to tell Ollie I'm all right because I want to play. And that's you want to play football. And it's great that Rashford wants to play. I think there can be no criticism of Marcus Rashford. You might say, well, look, you need to look after your body, Marcus, because in 8 years' time, you might have to retire because of all this playing that you're doing when you're not fit. But the young mind doesn't think about future problems, and I don't have an issue with Rashford on that. I think Manchester United need to be careful about that. And as I said, in relation to Chris Smalling, a lot of people talking about Chris Smalling. We spoke about it this morning. So, obviously thoughts and prayers with his family after the robbery over there in Italy. It could have been very, very, well, it is very, very bad. But thankfully, there's not been any serious injury to anybody. But it is horrible news, as Liam Parker says. An armed robbery is what's happened, is what we're understanding. So, I mean, look, it's very, very sad when that happens, and our thoughts and prayers are with Chris, and hopefully he will be playing against us in a week or so. I don't know whether he's a couple of weeks. I don't know whether he's injured for that. So Ollie said nothing about the Pogba interview, but remember Ollie's press conference, although it's only just come out, would have been filmed after the game last night. So nothing been said about that. Again, timing very, very interesting. So Rashford for me, let's see what happens. I think he will play on Sunday. I wouldn't play him because we have got a week off between Burnley and Leeds. On to Eric Bailly. Ollie said that, look, it's good to have Eric back. Hopefully he can be available for the game on Sunday, but he hasn't trained yet. He's done one negative test. He's got to do another negative test, and then hopefully he will train tomorrow. Obviously, this is COVID. I mean, there's no way that Eric Bailly is going to play at the weekend, and that just shows you Tuanzebe's got zero chance of playing at the weekend. I mean, you basically man of the match, back to the wilderness, Tuanzebe. Get a cushion to sit on the bench because he's got no chance. It'll be Maguire and Lindelof at the weekend. So Eric Bailly's irrelevant, and Axel Tuanzebe will be even more irrelevant. But it will be Maguire and Lindelof. So he was also asked about Eric Bailly's contract situation, and effectively saying hopefully that'll all resolve itself. Doesn't really see there being a problem there. So maybe they're confident that he is going to sign a new contract. As I said, I mean, to me, if we're buying a centre-back, why are we keeping Eric Bailly, Tuanzebe, and we don't use them? We're buying a centre-back, hopefully, to come in and dislodge the Lindelof-Magaluf partnership. So somebody's got to go in the summer, and I would like to see Tuanzebe stay. I'd like to see him get more game time, to be honest with you. On the title race, we are 8 points off Manchester City with 6 to go after the Burnley game. So Ollie was asked about that. 2012, it was an 11-point gap and Man City caught United. Ollie basically saying we don't give up, but we don't expect to win the league, which some people might say is a bit defeated. I think, high five Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on that one. I mean, we don't give up. Of course we don't give up. We try and win every single game, but we won't win the league. We're not going to win the league. I mean, Manchester City are not going to drop that many points. 8 points. That's 3 losses out of their last 6 games. I know it's happened before, but this is a different Manchester City side, and as Ollie said in the press conference, they're too strong. All we've got to do is win our games, and Ollie reiterated that all we can do is try and win all our games, but we're not going to catch Manchester City. I mean, it would take a massive, massive miracle for that to happen, and I think we'd all love it to happen, but I think we've got to be realistic about that. And Ollie spoke about that. I mean, he was asked about that. Second place, is that what Manchester United should be all around? And he said, look, progress is step by step, and that's what we're doing at Manchester United. Second place, if we get second place, is progress, but that's not the end game. There is a journey here, and second compared to third last year is progress, but there is a bigger thing at play, and that's not the end game. He said, you can't compare it to Sir Alex Ferguson's era, because that was, Sir Alex Ferguson was the number one, and there was always going to be a transformation after that. I mean, look, it's harsh, it's the reality, but I don't think what Solskjaer's saying isn't true in relation to that. I think he's absolutely spot on, and I think that we have to hope that there will be more progress. And he was asked about that. Are you confident? How confident are you in relation to how far you are off City? And the context to that was that we've beaten City this year, we've beaten PSG, we played well against teams like Chelsea. Are we far off City? And he said, look, the reality is we're in the Europa League and they're in the Champions League semi-final. So there is a big gap there, but we're not a million miles off them. The consistency is the thing. And I think it's such a big question. You could spend a whole show talking about this. Like, are we close to Manchester City really? And I think we're a million miles off them. But Ollie's saying we're not a million miles off them. I think we are. But that's not to dismiss what Solskjaer is saying. We have beaten Manchester City. We are second in the league. But I don't feel that we're close to them. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I think we're a long way off Manchester City. I think we can beat them in an individual game. But over a 38-game season, and he's right, we're in the Europa League semi-final, they're in the Champions League semi-final. There's a big difference there. They're comfortably ahead of us in the league. We're nowhere near them, really. I mean, 8 points, people say 8 points ain't bad, and it's definitely progress from last year. We're closing gaps, but I don't think, at the moment, I think so much of it depends on the board. I don't think next season we can think, well, let's go and close that 8-point gap to a 3-point gap. I don't think that's possible with what we've got. And there's a lot of turmoil in that club going on this summer. Does Pogba stay? What happens with the keepers? What we're doing at centre-back? What we're doing at CDM? What we're doing on the right wing? What we're doing at striker? So, I mean, Ollie talks about progress, and I think he has to do that. But I think that the gap to Manchester City is larger than we think, mainly because of off-field advantages that Manchester City have as well, that they have this huge squad, and we don't have that. I think Pep Guardiola knows he can pick the best 11 in the Premier League out of 16 players. He can rotate 16 players and still have the best 11 in the Premier League. United can't even have an 11 that's near Man City. Our best 11 out of everybody isn't, but he can change 4 or 5 positions and still have a better 11 than us, and that's what United need to get to. Congested Thought says 100 million budget, Sancho for 75, Lingard plus Henderson for Rice, sell Dello, Bay, etc. Get 30 million in sales, and gives us 55 million to play with, get Varane. Well, look, if we got Sancho, Rice and Varane, however you wanted to do that, I would be very, very happy with that. But, believe it when you see it is what I would say. I can't wait for the day when Man United sell McTominay, says Nickel. I think you might be waiting a long, long time for that one to happen, to be honest with you, pal. But, I still think in relation to Scott McTominay, look, I don't think we use him in the right position for a start. So I think that's probably an issue there. Just onto the Burnley, he did mention that we haven't beaten Burnley in our last 3 games. Now there's a really important point here from Solskjaer, and I will highlight it. He said we haven't won any of our last 3 home games against Burnley. Bloody Burnley at the weekend. We haven't won any of our last 3 home against them, and this is another chance to show progress, bounce back ability. The mentality of this team is very strong. To not let one loss derail your season, and I think that's really important, because one loss hasn't rocked us this season. I remember saying around Christmas time, the problem with United is you can trust them to go on a good run for 3 months, but then they'll go on a bad run for 2 months, and we've seen that. In the time that Solskjaer's been at United, that inconsistency has been a real problem. And I have noticed that this season we haven't really had a bad run, apart from the bad start to the season. Went on a great run, didn't we, from Everton when Ollie was under pressure in the autumn, all the way through to Sheffield United at home in January. And everyone was like, oh, that's going to be the end of United. But we haven't really derailed. We lost to Sheffield United, we had a couple of draws, but we've not really derailed in the league like we normally do. So there is an improvement there. There is a bounce back ability there. Of course, the major improvement we want to see is the improvement in the rotation of the squad, and also the way that we play football. But in relation to results, there is a platform there. We have lost that ability, especially in the league, where we go on a good run and then we go on a bad run. There's not really been a bad run this season, apart from obviously at the start of the season. So I agree with Ollie on that. I think he's right. And it is important to beat Burnley at the weekends, not only because I can't stand bloody Burnley, but also because we haven't beat them 3 times in the last three home games against them, and they are becoming a bit of a home bogey side. And to beat them, and we should beat them. Obviously, there's a bit of an issue between Manchester United and Burnley. There's a bit of an issue with Mark Goldbridge and Burnley, but that's by the by. But yeah, there's a real opportunity there for Manchester United to get 3 points, and we do need to take these 3 points. We've got a firm hand on second place now, and 3 points against Burnley just keeps that hand firm. Hi Mark, just watching new TikTok video, and my Chocky Milk donation was in there. Much love, lads, says Drew Laming. Yeah, you can check that out in the video description. Please smash a like on the video as well. What else did Ollie talk about? I mean, this was very interesting as well. He spoke about his coaches, and he said not many coaches in the world coach to the level of detail that my coaches do, and I'm very happy with them. So big shout out for his coaches, attention to detail, and glowingly praising of his coaches and their attention to detail, which I thought was, I was writing that down. I was quite interested, because I was like, oh, hold on a minute. He's really going to town on his coaches here and saying what attention to detail they have, which is fantastic. But in all honesty, what was coming into my head is then, if our coaching is so great at attention to detail, why are we still not marking people up in the box? Why do we not win the second ball? Why is our positional sense on crosses really poor? So, it's interesting, Ollie very, 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 very praising of his coaches, but I see, and I'm sure you see, some really basic defensive errors across the whole season from United that you would expect any decent coach to be saying, look, don't leave men free in the box. Keep an eye on them. Go and win the second ball. Go and win the first ball. Basics that defensively we've not been great about. But, and also the patterns of play that we use are very basic. So I think, by all means, praise your coaching staff. I think it's very important that Ollie does that. It bigs them up. It makes them feel confident. I'd applaud Ollie on that. But I think behind closed scenes, behind closed doors, there's a lot we need to improve on still. And I'm sure they're fully aware of that. And that's not saying sack Carrick or anything like that. That's just saying, constructive criticism. When you look at the goals we've conceded this season, which I did a couple of weeks ago, a lot of them are preventable. They've had the worrying thing when I was watching those goals is that it would be 1 week we make the same mistake, 2 weeks later we make the same mistake 2 weeks later. Well, look, anybody can make a mistake, but you should be pulling them aside or speaking to the team and saying, look at this goal we concede here. Look how Fred is nowhere near James Rodriguez and he gets a free shot in the box. We can't be giving players of this quality free shots in the box. What are you thinking when that ball's loose? You've got to be on him. You've got to be closing that space down. So they're sort of things that we need to work on. Hi Mark, if there's any player from the 99 squad you could chuck in today's team, who would it be? James Kang. Thanks for the super chat, James. If I had £1 for every time I was asked that question, I would have about £100. I've been asked that question so many times that I think everybody probably in the live comments already knows my answer to this. And as Paul says, it's Roy Keane. Like, I've been asked it so many times. And it's unfortunate that you didn't know that, James. But thanks for the super chat. Yeah, it's Roy Keane. 100% it's Roy Keane. Leadership, straight in the middle of the park. We need a player like that in that position. And yeah, it would be 100% him. No shadow of a doubt. Ali was also asked about the banners being changed red to black last night. If you remember his last press conference, he said that some of the players had genuinely said that they're struggling a little bit with the red banners, that when they look up and they see the red, it's, you know, that split second they're a little bit camouflaged. Last night we saw it go to black. He was asked about that question and he said, look, at the end of the day, it sounds strange, but the devil is in the detail. Some of the players have mentioned this, and these fine margins, you know, if it makes them feel better, then they might play better. So you know what? I think Ollie was always very open that it was open to ridicule. But he was very open to say that it had been mentioned as an issue. They've obviously changed it because it was an issue, and it may, you know, fine details, isn't it? So look, I thought it was funny. I did, and I think many people thought it was funny. But it may, you know, football is psychological as well. It is. If somebody's going through issues off the pitch, as we've seen in the past with some United players, it can impact them on the pitch. So little wins here and there. You know, these sports psychologists that have come into the game over the last 20, 30 years, you know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, probably would have been laughed at. Now, you know, mental health, isn't it? You know, mental health isn't just a negative word. I mean, it should never be a negative word. But what I'm saying is that mental health isn't, you know, you say the words mental health and you think, oh, somebody's depressed or having a bad time. But mental health can be about the positive aspects as well. And building up a player's mental health in relation to football and making them feel good and confident. We've all been there. I mean, I remember playing football down the park when I was about 11, and I hadn't scored in about two weeks down the park playing World Cup. I just couldn't do it. You know, easy chances, I was missing them. And then I was over out on the right wing, sort of Van Basten-esque. It was out without the volley. I just blasted it into the top corner, and I couldn't stop scoring after that because suddenly the positivity's there. And that's a very basic. Although it's often there is a plaque on my local park. This is the park that Goldbridge didn't score on for 2 weeks because Goldbridge. But on a serious note, though, that those things are positive. We've all been in that situation, whether you're throwing a dart, whether you're playing cricket. You know, confidence drops, and then, you know, it affects your output. When your confidence is up, you can't stop scoring. Has Pogba tried the right wing? If Scott, Fred, and Marcus are going to start in big games, could right wing be the spot to include Pogba? Could help Aaron Wan-Bissaka going forwards as TF plays. Yeah, we've got to get Pogba into the team, haven't we? How upsetting would it be not only seeing Man City winning the treble and us facing and losing to Arsenal in the final of the Europa League, says Jason Williams. It's funny, I saw somebody tweet today, Goldbridge needs to retire it was an Arsenal fan. Goldbridge is going to have to retire if Arsenal beat Man United in the Europa League. He's bantered us so much over the years that if we beat them in the Europa League final, he'd have to retire. And I'm thinking, what? Why would I have to retire? Like, you're in mid-table. Retire yourself. We're in the Champions League already. I want to win the Europa League final. And if it's Arsenal in the final and they beat us, that will be a hard pill to swallow. But we're still going to be in the Champions League. The only difference is that we don't win the Poundland Champions League. You know, this is a big deal for Arsenal. But realistically, I'll be disappointed if we lose the Europa League final to them. We don't need to bloody retire. We're still in the Champions League. It's just a trophy, isn't it? And a trophy would be nice. We do need that trophy. And I do want us to win. But it's not the end of Manchester United if we lose to mid-table Arsenal in a Europa League final. I mean, I'm sure they'll try and make it like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, bigger fish to fry. Hi, Mark. I bet you that if Tuanzebe played in Spain, our board would be desperate for him right now. He has all the attributes we're looking for in a centre-back, says Allah. It's interesting as we move on to some transfer news, actually. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think if Axel Tuanzebe was playing for Brighton or he was playing for West Ham, the way he's played last night and the way he's shown us against PSG, I think we'd be talking about Tuanzebe. It's weird, isn't it? I think that's a great comment. Imagine Tuanzebe wasn't Man United's player and he played for West Ham. And he'd played 30 games for West Ham like he did last night for us. And we want a centre-back. I guarantee we'd be sat here going, Get Tuanzebe for West Ham. He'd be perfect for next to Maguire. He's quick, he's strong, he's young, and he's going to learn more. You know, we would say that. The scary thing is, we would be saying, buy Tuanzebe from West Ham for 50 million. We need a centre-back. We would do that. And I'm not saying that... I still want us to buy a centre-back, by the way. I'm not saying let's... This is not... The Glazers will be loving this. Have you heard that? Don't buy a centre-back. We've already got him. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we've totally and utterly misused Tuanzebe, that he can't be that. We need a centre-back. But it is weird, because I do think that if he was playing consistently for somebody else, like a West Ham, we'd be like, let's buy him for 50 million. And we'd be quite right to say that, because I think he has got all the attributes. But for some reason, and can I just put my hand up here and say, who knows? Who knows what's going on with Tuanzebe? There may be 100 reasons why. Doesn't stop it being baffling. We don't know the full story. So we can't sit here and go, trust in the process, because we don't know what's really going on. But it is baffling. But what I would say is he was out for a whole year. And a whole year injury, that's longer than Van Dijk's going to be out for smashing his knee up. So what was the injury with Tuanzebe? Is there an issue with him? He hasn't actually been injured in months, so I don't know whether that might just be speculative. But no, I think it's a shame that he hasn't been used. And I also think that with Pat says it's the same story with Van der Beek. It's a different story with Van der Beek, because a year ago Van der Beek was playing for Ajax and we were going to be great at United. He's already done it. So it's a little bit similar, but a little bit not. I love Tuanzebe. He has so much potential to become a great player. He needs more game time, says Dia. Well, the interesting thing about Axel Tuanzebe is that I think he's 23 now. He's 23. He's 24 in November. Like, he can't wait. He can't wait anymore. He should be playing if I was Axel Tuanzebe's agent, I'd be saying, Axel, look, well done for these little cameo performances, but you've got to go in the summer, because you could play for England. You could play for Harry Maguire. We've probably got more chance of playing with Harry Maguire for England than you have with United, but you're going to have to move, because if he's 24 in November, which he is, time waits for nobody. 24, he should, if everything had gone well, he'd be playing for England in the Euros at 23. So his career is wasted at United at that age. He needs to play first team football. He can't be a backup. Well, he's not even a backup, is he? Bay's the backup. He's barely being used, so he does need to move on. Just a couple of things as well. I saw that there's a few reports around Andre Silva, who plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, formerly of AC Milan. Apparently he's got a €30 million release clause, which is about £25 million. Now, he's been banging in a lot of goals for Eintracht Frankfurt. He's been mentioned around us a few times. I don't personally think United are looking at this lad, but he would be an interesting option. I mean, for us to buy striker, Cavani's got to go. Now, I suppose you're in that situation whereby if Cavani goes, what do you do? A lot of people are saying, well, you go and get Haaland, you go and get Kane. But I personally think that somebody around £30 million, and this is why we were talking about Danny Ings the other day, I just think money could be spent elsewhere. But that's interesting with Andre Silva. I mean, I don't know. He's a bit of a risk. He is a bit of a risk, but he's a bit more of a Cavani type striker. I mean, he's nowhere near as good as Cavani. Cavani's obviously top echelon in his career as a number 9, but Andre Silva is a bit more of an all-rounder. Not super explosively fast, but he's all-rounder. He can hold it up. He can get on the end of a cross with his feet and with his head. I don't know. Saddest part is if Tuanzebe leaves, I'm 100% on him turning to be better than any of our centre-backs. Needs Ollie to utilise the youth better, says Gabriel Noel. How does United need a number 9 when you can't play out of the back, says Gabriel Davis. Well, to be fair, last couple of games, we have created a couple of good chances for our number 9. Well, actually, I can think in the last 2 games, against not bad opposition, you're talking Tottenham and Granada. I mean, all right, we're not talking Man City and Bayern Munich, but Tottenham and Granada, they're, mid-table teams in their leagues, in La Liga and in the Prem. And we've created 4 good chances for Cavani in two games. I think that's an improvement for United. Now, Harry Kane or Sergio Aguero, when he's playing for Man City, they would expect to get 3 or 4 good chances a game. We still need to do better. But I know for a fact that with Cavani and Martial and Greenwood this season, there's been games where we've created nothing for them. So I think I don't think it's a coincidence that we're creating more chances now that we've got Pogba and Bruno in the final 4. And what I mean by that is Cavani up front, Greenwood on the right, Pogba, Bruno. And I think that provides more balance to create chances for our striker. I don't think Greenwood, Rashford Cavani, Bruno, doesn't seem to create many chances for our number 9. But as soon as you put Pogba in there instead of one of the wingers, there seems to be more fluidity. I think it creates more space for Bruno, and obviously Pogba's very dangerous. And I think you could try Van der Beek instead of Pogba and put Pogba deeper as well. I think it just seems to work better for us. And we've seen that in the last 2 games. Pogba's played in a more attacking position in the last 2 games. Bruno's played better because of it. And we've created more chances for our number 9. It's not a coincidence. I really like Rashford. I really like Greenwood. But I've said this for a very long time. I think they're very similar. I don't think there's a balance to our attack when we play Greenwood and Rashford, because they're both wingers who want to get a shot off. Well, that doesn't help the number 9, does it? And just to explain it a little bit more where I'm coming from, I love Greenwood and Rashford, but I've always said they don't create for the striker. Well, if you take one of them out and you bring Pogba in or a Van der Beek in, they want to create. They like to score, but they want to create. Well, therefore, you've got 2 creators in Bruno and Pogba, or Bruno and Van der Beek. And that's better for the striker than having 2 wingers who want to score. That doesn't help the striker. So I think that's why it's a little bit better. But we're going to need more evidence to see if that is the case. Mark, do you think Tuanzebe will be the one player we should have kept and be one of the best in the world, says Jay Ling's fan? I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that. What I would say about Tuanzebe is I think he's better than the amount of games he's been given. I think that's quite clear. Also, just some talk about Bellingham, that Jude Bellingham, that Chelsea might be interested in him, that Dortmund have already smacked a £100 million price tag on him. It does leave a bit of taste in the mouth. I read something today that there's people at Manchester United, I think it was from Bleacher Report, Dean Jones, saying there's people at United that are still very unhappy that Bellingham's not wearing the red of Manchester United. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, that. I mean, Birmingham City, Jude Bellingham, over 30 games in the Championship last season at 16. You know something special going on there. I'm not surprised by what Bellingham's doing for Dortmund, is what I'm saying. If you know what the Championship's like in England, it's ultra physical and it's ultra competitive. Birmingham didn't get relegated and he played over 30 games in the centre midfield at 16. You're playing centre midfield at 16. There's something special going on there. I'm not surprised by what he's done at Dortmund. Am I disappointed he's not a Man United player? Yes. But I don't think he's made the wrong decision. As I said yesterday, Bellingham has played in a Champions League quarter-final and been man of the match against Manchester City for Dortmund. He's also played loads of games for Dortmund this year. He would never have played those games for Manchester United. We don't do that with our young players. Even Mason Greenwood, I know he's playing a lot at the moment, but he wasn't at the start of the season. So there's no way he would have played the games he's played at United. So to be fair, for him, the best decision was Dortmund. But of course I'm disappointed we didn't get him, because exactly what I predicted to happen now. He'll go to Dortmund, he'll do really well, and they'll want 100 million and we won't be able to afford him. We could have got him for 25 million and his price has probably gone up 3 times already. So look, Bellingham would have been a great player for Manchester United if we'd handled it correctly, but we didn't handle the negotiations right, and I don't think we would have handled him, the player, as well as Dortmund. Therefore, he's made the right choice. And he probably will end up at Chelsea or Manchester City at some point. Hopefully, he'll end up at United, but I think we might be priced out of that already. And as Charlie Thompson says, Dortmund are very good at bringing up youngsters, and they are, and they've got a proven track record. And now they've got a proven track record of doing it with young English players as well. Sancho, now Bellingham. I mean, if you are a young player, as much as it pains me to say it, Dortmund is probably the place to go. They are going to use you. Gabriel says Bellingham is much better than Fred and McTominay. Well, yeah, he is. But I don't think he would have got the game time because, as we know with Ollie, it's about trust. He would rather play a player that's a little bit limited, but he can trust to do a job for him, than a player that's more talented that he doesn't really know, as we've seen with Van der Beek. I mean, a lot of games this season, Fred, McTominay, Dan James. Not a lot of games for Diallo, Van der Beek, Tuanzebe. You know, there seems to be a bit of a mismatch with fans liking players and Ollie going for the more put a shift in player. Because look at where we are in the league. We're second in the league, so you know he has to be right. He has to be right, doesn't he? But you know. Yes, I am doing I just must give it a shout out. Mark Goldbridge, that's football in about 20 minutes. I am doing a European Super League FIFA career mode, and I'm as Manchester United. Now, this is something I've been quite excited about for a long time, so you can check it out on That's Football. It will run for 6 seasons. There will be like a 6-season Super League with transfers the lot. I figured out how to do it on FIFA, so there is a 6-season thing with transfers, Champions League, other leagues running at the same time. So it's going to be really, really interesting if you want to watch that on the That's Football channel. I'm not doing a watch along for Spurs versus Everton tonight, dear. Why? That's the question. Why? Why would you want to watch Spurs against Everton? Everton can't score goals at the moment and they're not getting top 4. And Spurs ain't getting top 4. So it might be, therefore it might be a good time. Grand Theft Auto's back tonight on Twitch. So that's that. So yeah, I've spoken about Andre Silva, spoke about Bellingham, we spoke about Ollie, we spoke about all the injuries. Just want to make sure I've not missed anything out, what he was talking about. Obviously, talking about Pogba and the Varane potentially being off. That was on this morning's show if you want to check that out. And we are going to be live at 8 o'clock tonight as well with Friday Night Live, which is at 8 o'clock. So join me for that one. Looking forward to that, actually, because bit of Q&A and all that jazz as well on a Friday night. And into another big weekend. Hopefully Chelsea can do us a favour tomorrow and knock Man City out the FA Cup. We're running out of last chances for Man City, really. They're going to win the league. They're 2 games away from winning the FA Cup. And I think if they beat Chelsea tomorrow, they'll win the FA Cup, because I can't see bloody Leicester or Southampton. That should be us. We should be stopping them winning the FA Cup. That's another ball ache, isn't it? The FA Cup, the way we withered in that. That was a chance to stop them winning the treble. I tell you what, if Man City win the treble on Ollie's watch, there has to be some responsibility there, because we could have found a way to stop them. I think the Champions League, we bottled that. The FA Cup, we bottled that as well. But look, we're in the hands of others there. PSG, Chelsea, anybody, please stop them. Please stop them. Yeah. Check out Goldbridge Reacts to TikToks. Links in the video description for that. I think you'll enjoy that. And then you've got enough time to watch that before 20 minutes time. I'm doing the European Super League with Manchester United on my career mode on That's Football. Thanks everyone for watching. Please smash a like on the video. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 likes again. And I'll speak to you all in a bit on various things. Thanks for watching. Back at 8 tonight.